I'm going to call to order the meeting of the committee chairs at 6:01 at the Greenfield City Hall meeting room. Roll call. Oh, this meeting is being recorded by the committee chairs. If anyone else is doing that, please let me know. The purpose of the meeting is to prepare the agenda for subcommittees for council consideration. No discussion of comments will be entertained unless requested upon by the committee chair. Roll call.
President Gwynn.
Here.
Vice President Forgy. Here. Councilor Elmer.
Here.
Councilor Bullock is not logged in, and Councilor Disorder informed the president that she would not be attending. Mr. President, you have a quorum.
Keep in mind, if we lose the Zoom link, we will adjourn the meeting with no further discussion because we will not have a quorum present.
And Councilor Bullock is just logging in. Councilor Bullock, can you hear me?
She's muted right now. There she is.
Councilor Bullock?
Yep, I hear you. Can you hear me?
Okay. Yep,
Yep,
and
we can hear you.
I'm just going to mark you as attending. There you go.
All right, let's jump right on the agenda and see where we're going. Change date of committee chairs meeting from November 7th. Okay, so November 7th is election day.
Yes, it is.
Let me look at this calendar. How busy are you? I mean, the day before you've got prep.
Yes.
You'll be over there prepping. Do we want to move it? Let me see, where am I?
The day after is, the 8th is A&O.
Right. What's the first?
Wednesday.
I'm just looking,
Yep.
going that direction
I
instead.
don't see anything.
Chris, will that work for you? Anyway,
That'd
if
work
we
great
did
for me.
November 1st,
Yeah.
will that work for the majority of you?
Yes.
Because we can't do the 7th. That would be in November and give us a little bit of working days.
It's okay with me.
Okay, let's move it to November 1st without objection.
Same time, same location?
Same time, same
Okay.
location. You'll have to check on this room.
Yes.
And then obviously, if there's a reason that I failed to recognize, we can revisit this.
Okay. That might be a school committee meeting night. I'm not entirely sure. So just. putting it out
Diana,
there.
if you know of anything overwhelming, that would be great. All right. Request of waiver of first refusal, chapter 61, submitted by Sean O'Sullivan. What's that about? That's
So,
going to.
Initially, we thought it had to go to the council, but it does not. It just needs to go to the mayor because the council is not interested, or excuse me, the city is not interested in the property. So the mayor can take care of it.
Okay,
It doesn't need to have any
So,
action by
we're
the
done.
council.
moving forward.
Mhm.
Okay. Filing precinct A counselor vacancy due to resignation of Douglas Mayo. Kathy and I have discussed this, and we looked at precedent and charter, and because there's a few things enrolled in this, involved, I should say. We found that there's an error in the update of the charter, and I'm going to send to Councilor Bullock a charter change with the help of the clerk to rectify this. Do you want to just update people on why and what our solution is?
Sure. So I'm going to give a little snapshot of history. In 2014, there was a charter change that took effect in 2015 that changed the city from annual elections to biennial elections, which is every other year. That put councilors on a 4-year alternating schedule, as well as the mayor and the school committee and the other elected officials. At that time, what we failed to do was update Charter Section 211, filing of vacancies, because the word annual still remains in that section in 2 different places. So it says annual, but we don't have annual elections. We have biennial elections. So whether you want to refer to this as just an error or a Scrivener's error or wherever you want to place it, it says annual, but we do not have annual elections. So
It should say
it
city
should
election.
say city election or biennial election or local election or something of
Yeah,
that
it would be
sort.
like, if it had said to local election, then it doesn't have to give a period of time.
Right.
But it says annual and we
Right.
don't. So Kathy checked with,
So I spoke to elections. They said to contact our city council, not council, but council. And Mass General Law, there's nothing in Mass General Law, so state election law does not help. But it appears to be that the spirit of this section of the charter should follow the schedule of elections for counselors and other elected officials. So somehow this needs to be brought in line. It can easily be by deleting the word annual, by replacing it with biennial, simply saying city elections. There are other small changes that can be made, but it's causing some questions for us now because we have a resignation within 90 days of the election. And if that office, that seat had been on the election, it would not be a problem, but that seat is not on this election. And it's past the deadline to have papers pulled and nominations sought and that sort of thing. So it appears to be that the council process for appointment is still the process that should be used moving forward.
so we will do our regular process to fill this vacancy, which is I will be accepting requests to be looked at through the council.
Yep.
The vacancy,
Precinct charge.
the vacancy, same thing. We will open it up. We'll open the vacancy. They will send in letters of intention or whatever you want to call them that they'd like to fill the position. I will then take a look with and see what we get. We'll then, with the advice of chairs, we will bring it forward to the selected individual. Then we'll go to full council, and the same procedure we did when Catherine filled the precinct one seat. So our procedure will not change, and they will be the precinct 8 counselor until the next city election, filling the vacancy. So long explanation, but we did a little homework. And this why it didn't come up for precinct 1 is we weren't within 90 days of a city election. So that's why we didn't have to follow that last time. We just followed our procedure. So not a big change. And if you look at all of the stuff, our precedent, our policy, we are following, and the intention of the charter. And they were in agreement. Everyone that Kathy spoke to is in agreement. So right now, I'm just going to ask people if you, oh, go ahead, Bill.
The seat that's being filled was not going to be open again for 3 years, 2 years.
Right.
But what schedule is the appointment going to be on?
Till the next city election.
So it's a 1-year appointment then.
Correct.
More like a 2.
Almost 2. Almost 2.
All right, thanks.
We have an election this year. We don't have election next year. It'll be the next year. So it's almost a 2 full year.
The election would happen in November of 25 the seat would be taken in January 26.
Yeah. So it's,
Okay.
And it's up for election in 25.
Correct.
So it's, you know.
They would fulfill the remainder of the term.
Yes.
And then they would need to.
So that's that. Was there anything else, though? You said?
That's it.
Okay. Any questions on that? And like I said, the only reason this it was a little bit different because our policy's been working fine and we all worked on that with the charter changes and all that, but somehow in our process, we didn't address the change in the election timing. But what we have been following is correct. All right, proposed miscellaneous zoning amendments, definitions. Is this something that will go to EDC?
EDC and Planning Board follow Chapter 40A zoning. I do have two questions.
Okay,
Counselor Elmer, the joint Planning Board and EDC meeting has been proposed for November 2nd. Does
Okay,
that meet with your schedule?
let me look.
Okay, and within this one proposal, there are 5 different amendments. We're recommending that there be 5 different orders so that they can be considered individually.
that makes sense.
November 2nd works for me. I can't speak for the rest of my committee.
Okay,
We'll be sending out an invitation, however.
I will ask Tammy to check.
Okay, good.
You're gonna have a busy week that week, Phil, already. I'm filling up your
Yeah.
first week of November. All right, so that's not a problem. Proposed zoning amendment of 200-39?
That
That's
would
part of
also
it?
be at the same meeting to
Okay.
follow the same path, but a
Process.
completely separate proposal.
All right, yep, send that to Phil.
Mhm.
Proposed resolution to endorse Senate Bill number 303, an act increasing the Commonwealth's share of education foundation budget submitted by Counselor Golo. Where is this?
CRE. We'll take it into CRE for discussion at our October meeting, and we'll bring a recommendation out
How's that sound?
for council.
CRE, perfect. Proposed resolution to endorse Senate Bill 335 relating to special education. Is that going with it?
Yes.
Okay. CRE. Proposed 289 authorized for police station upgrades to dispatch communication system. That would go to Ways and Means.
And it would be a first reading. So-
First reading, okay, yep. Approved payment for Millbrook, that would go to
Ways and Means.
Ways and Means.
And also first reading.
Approve the payment, another one, Ways and Means. Approve the payment, Ways and Means. Approve the payment, Ways and Means. Approve the memorandum of understanding for the city council and the union, DPW. That goes to, I'm guessing, the same place, Ways and Means. Raise the COLA, Ways and Means. Yes, no? You have,
That's fine. I have to
Yeah.
recuse, but I have a quick question. Hope it doesn't compromise. my
because it's not
recusal.
detailed, if it's
Okay.
asking a question.
I always thought that right now, the base that employees received COLAs on was 14,
I will clarify.
please.
I'm gonna clarify.
Okay,
Okay, yeah, that's a,
yep,
there could be many reasons it says that. We'll find
Okay.
out.
thank you.
Mayor's appointments, Councilor Bullock, send those to A&O.
Yep, I had one clarifying question, which was some months ago, it was said in a council meeting that if a person was on the board of GSET, that they then couldn't be on other
Yep.
boards in the city. Did we ever get a decision or answer on that? Because there's a person, I believe, who's now,
Let me follow the paper trail.
okay,
So we don't have an answer yet, but we do continue to ask.
They are, and I was just clarifying that, Councilor Bullock. The last communication I received said that they had it at their council, not council,
Yes,
legal counsel
Yes.
for clarification from GSET. We will follow up on that because I see that person on here twice that we were asking about in the past, and I will find out that answer with some urgency.
okay, thank you.
So,
yes.
yeah, because it's the same situation.
You said.
EDC, Phil, anything, now that we're on your real agenda, anything there?
Well, as you say, we don't need to discuss the waiver. The
Right.
Chapter 61 waiver. I spoke to the lawyer. The city clearly didn't want the land and seems like it's We don't,
So,
even if we did, even if it was in our bailiwick, it's a no-brainer. I asked a question about whether we could propose, although it's not on this agenda, propose a change to the major development review. I didn't get an answer. Is that something we could take up on Tuesday?
I'm sorry, Phil, was there a proposal submitted by you for the new language?
No, I'm prepared to do it, but I don't have it. I didn't submit it yet. This was on the chair's agenda two chairs ago.
I do remember that, but
And I
I
don't-
didn't, we would have to have the language to move it forward.
so Phil, I would recommend based on that, that you have this thing coming now on November 2nd, which is going to be your whole committee. Could you have that language to us in October so it can be on your November agenda and not necessarily meet in October? If you don't have an agenda item?
That's fine with me. I'm
Oh,
not even sure
do they have
get a
more?
quorum.
No, that goes to A&O.
The proposed
fine.
zoning amendment,
That's all in the November 2nd meeting
sorry.
because they have to meet with, that's the joint meeting
Yes.
with,
I'm sorry.
what's the committee?
Planning.
Planning. Thank you.
So for your proposal, Counselor Elmer, you would need to submit specific language that you would want to be considered.
Yes, I can do that. I could do it today, but I don't, it's a change of one number. But let's take it up on the 2nd. And I will send
So
you
if he
the,
submits it today, it can go on the council agenda as a first notice.
Okay,
I think that's how it can be done.
okay. Let's follow the new protocols with that, Phil, and make sure that we're there. But your regular November meeting, if you're having a regular meeting, wouldn't be the 2nd unless you felt that you're going to get through all of this joint meeting and have time for it. If not, you could do that at your regular November
The
meeting.
base is 14 and it's going to.
And you can talk to
60.
Kathy about that.
Maybe.
okay,
You know what I mean? Just seeing if it can
Yep.
be put on that agenda, or does it need
Yep.
your regular meeting date?
all right. Meanwhile, I'll send something to Kathy.
Perfect. And she can tell you how that process to get it on the council, so we're not introducing anything that's not on an agenda. A&O. Marianne, we've got the appointments that we just talked about with that clarification. The discussion items, do you have anything there that needs to be added to your agenda?
I think we can take gas powered leaf blowers off because we don't have a draft yet to discuss.
Okay.
Um,
Ride for hire, we don't have a draft. We might, but let's not do it now.
yep. And then the Public Safety Commission, we can also take off because we had a joint meeting with them last month where we discussed it, and they're gonna go do some work, and then we're gonna meet again in a few months.
Perfect.
So we can take that off, and I do want to leave dog bites on there because we discussed that last month, and I would like for us to. I think we'll be ready for that to be a motion to move it forward to the full council at this meeting.
You just, as a reminder, remember, we have to have language if it's got any, if it has any punitive situation, it's got to go to the bodies that it would affect, you know.
Oh, yeah,
police
so
Or,
let's keep that on discussion. Let's keep that on discussion for this month then.
yeah, I mean, once you have it, then we have to send it out to make sure that it's enforceable and, you know what I mean, whose
Yeah.
jurisdiction and the legal end of a dog bite, because that goes into liability situations for everybody with dog bites. Greenfield Charter Chapter, they have a meeting this month, right? I saw that bouncing around.
They have a meeting in October for the approval of minutes only. So after the approval of minutes, then those minutes, because the minutes are the recommendation, will
Then they'll-
go to A&O.
Okay. So Counselor Bullock, at that time, when they send you the of the recommendation, then it'll go to your committee for you to review, and then you and I can speak on the next step, whether it's ready to, if the recommendation has a process or not. We don't know what the recommendation is going to be, so it's premature to say, is it something we have to work on, or is it an ending situation?
Sounds good.
But they will have that. I've been watching the emails go back and forth about scheduling it and who is available. So it looks very close to getting to A&O. Did you have anything else, Councilor Bullock, that I might have missed or?
Not for A&O, but for well, I guess maybe it's related, not for A&O's agenda, but for the general agenda. I have something when we get there.
Okay, just, remind me to get that in there for you. CRC, 456.
That is correct. And the two resolution pieces. Just want to point out that this is a place change meeting. We are not going to be meeting at Johnson. It was an awful lot of work for very little return as far as constituents showing up. Yeah. So we're going to hold it here in City Hall.
Excuse me.
It will be City Hall and Zoom, and it'll be 6 o'clock on October 16th.
And you'll also do the other items of business that evening.
We will. I'd like those two items of business, if we could, to go first. Because I want to bring recommendations out to council and have that adopted in October.
May I ask a question? I don't remember but who reached out to 1, 2, and 3 to find out the topics? And
That was the counselors from 1, 2, and 3.
okay, did the office reach out to find out?
No, I put out, I will email the counselors from 4, 5, and 6 for a top.
What they think the topics will be.
Anything else from CRC?
That's it for us.
All right, Ways and Means, Councilor Forgy, only because
Yeah.
Ginny's not here. Consider home rule petition for compensating reimbursement of the schools. That should be a discussion item.
A discussion item,
Okay.
correct.
Because is that going to CRC? Is that right?
Well, I think this is, I'm not sure, I guess it would be up to Councilor DeSorga, but I am thinking that the proposed resolutions are basically going to cover the home rule petition. I don't know that, so I'm just going to say we'll put it as a discussion item.
Audit with Power and Sullivan?
That is going to be an action item, so we're going to have to contact the auditors and arrange for them to come to this meeting, basically be first on the agenda. This is the council's audit. So, and we should invite, in my opinion, extend an invitation out to the mayor and Diana as well. But we want to do a review of that audit. My expectation is it'll probably take 45 minutes, an hour. I would just tell them an hour max for their participation, and they usually come in on Zoom.
So I will recommend, as we move forward, without looking at anything else, that keeping brevity in mind, for the length of your meeting, if you see things that can be pushed to a future agenda.
The next one, the follow-up on
Yeah.
that can be pushed.
Okay,
Okay, operating budgets, that can be pushed. That actually, I think will need a charter change.
That would absolutely need a charter.
It needs a charter change, so.
so if that's considered a charter change, then it has to obviously go to A&O. I mean, when it gets to that point.
Right. Now, everything else looks like they're going to be.
Some are readings and some are articles. Anything
Right.
there, Kathy, that?
So
I think everything needs to go.
the COLA base, and this perhaps is a question that I should ask Finance Director Schindler. Dee, are you on? If it's okay if I can ask.
Of course.
Okay. Does the COLA base, so there's no appropriation of funds there? It's just raising the base? I don't believe that needs a first, second reading with a public hearing. I think it just goes to vote. Am I correct in thinking that?
I would agree with that. Yes, it's not a financial order. It's
Okay.
just a motion similar to we did for the, when we did a increased COLA this year for the retirement system. We
So
just did
that
as
could
a-
actually go under agenda items rather than discussion items.
Okay.
And we will still clarify the base.
You can move. Is there anything else here that's going from discussion to agenda? All those payments, would those are all be agenda, right?
These are all agenda.
They're all agenda.
Yeah. The repurpose down to the
Okay.
uh,
Memorandum.
memorandum, I
Mhm.
would say those are all agenda.
Mm-hmm.
An audit with Powers and Sullivan, as she just said, would be the first agenda item. The invitation for the audit review, that would be agenda.
And then the motions
Yes.
after that.
Yes.
We want to
Okay.
lead with that.
Okay.
Anything else, Counselor Forgy, on behalf of Beats?
I think that that's okay.
I recommend that Clerk Scott reaches out to Counselor Sorger before finalizing this agenda.
Okay.
Oh, go ahead, Diana, I'm sorry.
No worries, thank you. When you're asking for the auditors to be present, are you speaking about Ways and Means or at the full council? Just so I understand.
Ways and Means, sorry. She's asking if you want them at Ways and Means, the auditors at Ways and Means or council?
Ways and Means.
Okay. Ways and Means.
Okay, thank you.
We did that last year.
Oh, that's fine.
Means. And then we just reported out to council.
All right. Anything else that I've omitted at this point before we go to the city clerk, who has a beginning of a process?
Who left her notes downstairs? She's gonna wing it.
Okay.
You're a pro, wing it.
You know. So Tammy and I put our heads together trying to come up with a way to satisfy open meeting law requirements and satisfy counselors that they get information at the meeting and then, they have questions and they're not able to
Dialogue and
propose-
discussion.
Yes. We thought that the school committee, the mayor, and invited guests, if they can, should maybe put like a 2-sentence paragraph or a full paragraph in writing to submit to be included in the council packet so that counselors would know the topics that were coming up and be able to forward questions that they would ask during the council meeting prior to the council day, so that the counselors would know the questions they would like the mayor to respond to about the given topics.
Can I stop you there?
You can.
My question to that is, as long as we know their topic
Mhm,
that they're going to discuss,
mhm.
I see no reason we have to ask our questions in advance. Because we're not involving new discussion.
Sure.
We're building on their explanation.
Okay.
If Counselor Forgy says the auditors are coming in and I don't have to give her my questions to the audit, what I want to ask the auditor in
Mhm.
advance,
Mhm.
I know that the auditors are coming in to talk. So, and they're going to talk about the money. So I would just suggest that sometimes our questions, you do not always know your question in advance. There are times I think I know something and someone begins to talk and I'm like, oh, wow. And,
Right,
and
right.
then, so that would be my only piece. I see Counselor Bullock. Did you have your hand up, Counselor Bullock?
Yeah, just to say, I love this idea in theory, and I appreciate you, Kathy, trying to wade through this really contentious and hard situation that like the whole council got angry at like you for no good reason basically last month.
We're like Teflon.
Yeah.
No, we're not.
No, we're all human here. And so, and just in, you know, in my like year and a half to almost 2 years, I guess, doing this, there is a lot of times where the council asks questions ahead of time and like we don't necessarily get the answers. And the point of the agenda being posted isn't necessarily for us or for the executive, it's for the public to reasonably know what to expect will be a topic of discussion at the meeting so that they could show up if the mayor was going to talk about X, Y, and Z. So I think that I like the beginning of your proposal where it's like there's the two sentences about what is going to be spoken about, and I think in my going to that training and rereading the law after the last meeting that we would satisfy the open meeting law as long as we have those points. And of course, if I have questions that involve like numbers or specifics or whatever, I out of courtesy try to send those ahead of time. But don't necessarily think that that adds to the open meeting law issue we're dealing with right now.
And I want to just build on something Councilor Bullock just said. I believe if a counselor knows in advance they're going to ask a question that's not on topic, like we see those 2 and 3 sentences in advance, even if it's at chairs or whenever that, I'm just saying, whenever it comes out, that if Councilor Forgy knows she's going to ask a question about the dog park, you know, I'm just saying that she says to Tammy or yourself, I would like it noted that I'm going to ask some questions about the dog park. I don't think she necessarily has to say specifically what she's going to ask unless it's something that needs numbers. And I too believe, as Councilor Bullock said, that would satisfy open meeting law. You said that we're going to talk about the dog park. You're going to ask a question about the dog park. You know, I don't think you have to point out every single item that you're going to just get unless it's something Diana needs to do numbers on or, you know, something that's going to help to pull it. So I'm saying, well, I don't think we always have to discuss everything in advance because some things are spontaneous. They say one thing and it leads, it's like conversation. No conversation ends like you intended to.
I applaud what you're trying to do, and you've spent an awful amount of time trying to render this situation to a positive. I'm wondering if, for instance, using the example of, I'm going to ask questions about the dog park, if I just put bullets, where is it? How much does it cost? And, you know, and who runs it?
I would
Just bullets.
I think that would be okay, but as Councilor Bullock said, I'm wondering if we are going to say topic will be dog park from Councilor Forgy to mayor's office. I think we've satisfied what their intention is.
That I agree with everything everyone is saying.
Just make sure that, and then continue with your whole plan.
The problem is getting it to have it in a timely manner to be able to still send the agenda out on before Friday at 5.
Yeah, I think
Because 48 hours doesn't hit until Monday at 6.
I think time limits are okay. If Councilor Forgy wants to talk about the dog park and she can't tell you on Friday what she's going to tell you on Monday, it's not that important.
So it requires
Or it's happened quick.
people having the communications to send us their communications. So if Counselor 4D wants to talk about the dog park, Counselor 4D needs to let us know, preferably before Friday morning, and definitely not Monday at 3.
I think it's a
you know?
process. I think it's a process
Yeah.
and procedure. Once we outline it and we know it, right now, it's come out of left field. You know,
Right.
we're saying, what do you mean I can't talk?
We're
know.
really, that pendulum is swinging and
Yeah.
we're really,
We're way out.
we're way over.
We're over compliance.
Yeah.
I truly believe we're over complying.
Yeah.
And I was happy because Councilor Bullock knows much more about this
Yeah.
subject than I do after her seminar and reading this
Right.
9 times, maybe 10. In that she is saying, I think this will satisfy. The word satisfy in this text, you know, it is exactly, we want to make sure we're doing
Effort.
what their intention is.
Yeah. And last month, I had a question about how our asylum seekers were doing. So I wrote it up and I sent it. I don't know whether, I think I might have sent it to you, but I don't know. I might have just sent it to the mayor, or I might have just sent it wherever it was. It just went. And then Diana was there at the meeting representing the mayor, and she talked about the asylum seekers.
That's
So-
on our agenda.
Yeah.
That's perfect. And I think but I don't think you had a right, you know, can we drop clothes off? Can we, you know, can we give them food? Can we, I think you're bringing in the discussion, and it's going to migrate. It's going to move. You know what I mean? It's going to, our new residents are going, we might, and it might trigger something Phil's been thinking. And he goes, oh yeah, I wanted to ask this. I think that's clearly, if you don't, you're going to kill the intention of democracy.
Yeah.
You're going to, if you've got to know ahead of time everything we're going to ask, it's not going to work. And that's why when I was getting, you know, when it got very warm in my seat, that at last meeting, and I'm very good at trying to keep my cadence. There were times I was losing it. It was really frustrating because I was agreeing with what we were getting bombarded with, and so were you.
Yeah.
You and I looked like those dogs in the back of the car windows. We just kept nodding, and everyone was getting mad, and I'm thinking. And then even one of the counselors came up after the meeting and said to me, you know, I wasn't mad at you. And I'm like, oh yeah, this was, you know, we were disappointed with the situation. So I want you to continue. We talked about for the mayor and the school committee. Did you and Tammy have other discussion on this
No,
topic?
So the proposal was to have something short and sweet put in writing to be able to be included in the packet. But from what I'm hearing here, we're just looking for the bullet points for the agenda.
I believe.
Nothing in addition in writing unless someone requests something
Yeah.
more.
And I think what Chris said about talking about our new citizens is that she did send that out so they could do homework on it. You know what I mean? You know, that I think is great. Marianne, I'm sorry, do you have your hand up again, or is it still up?
Marianne and D. Schindler.
So Councilor Bullock and then Director Schindler, I'll be right after that.
One was just like, like I think there's like a little bit of a fear for me that like when we start doing this, we're going to have these agendas that are just like longer and longer and longer, because like every little thing that someone might want to talk about is going to be sent in to put on the agenda, which is fine. And like however we can empower you, Dan, to facilitate a meeting where you are saying we're moving on to the next subject now.
Yeah.
Our meeting.
The president's part.
Yeah, I do believe that, you know, that crossed my mind greatly in the last meeting.
Yeah.
And Dee had her hand up.
The other thing is that whatever, like Kathy, I actually do love the idea of us having additional materials and questions that have been answered ahead of time. So like, I don't want to just like shoot that down. I don't think it needs to be a feature of what we need to comply, but I love when we have additional materials added to the agenda for us to use in meetings.
Director Schindler, did you have something?
Well, I was just gonna add in, putting on my chief of
We're having
staff
trouble
hat.
hearing you, Dee.
Oh, sorry, it could be my internet for some reason. Can you hear me now? I have to go through my internet and then the city internet and
Yeah,
for some
you're just
reason
very quiet.
like a delay.
Yeah, yell.
Yeah.
Um,
Project.
So what I was just saying that I think that, one of the things that it seems like you're asking for, you're discussing is some type of almost like an administrative update. Kind of just having my chief of staff hat on, like that's something that, we don't want to give you like every single thing, but month to month, there's a lot of activity that goes on in the city. And I know you guys hear about it in a variety of ways. I'm sure you hear about it on Facebook and you hear about it on the podcast and maybe in the recorder. But I guess, is that what you're sort of, suggesting, Kathy, like it is some type of administrative update from the administration to the council? Or are you suggesting something from the council to the administration?
So I was, in a nutshell, saying both. An administrative update on the 4
Topic.
bullet points that the mayor intends to discuss at the meeting, but also flip the page over, and if the counselors had something that they wanted the mayor to bring up or elaborate on, that the council also needs to let us know to include it on the agenda that they want to talk about the dog park.
Because the generic term like update is no longer in compliance. We updated for 20 years or longer, but that's no longer acceptable. So,
Okay, I was just trying to get clarification on that. And just then I think when Kathy's talking about timing, I'm very, conscious of the early time that I actually present my materials, which is, well before the meeting, is generally like 3 weeks before the actual meeting. And, like I said, there's a lot of things that go on, then beyond that before the meeting. So I don't know if you're speaking of having something in time for the agenda for chairs or something in time for the agenda for the actual, council or somewhere in between.
council.
Okay, all right. So that's much more doable. Thank you.
So Kathy, I want to take this a step further. One of the categories that I made a point on was old business and new business. Old business, I think counselors that want to bring up old business would have the same thing. If Phil knows he wants to talk about a piece of property that they were in discussion and we had an update, or he heard from the planning board, or there was something that was noticed. I think, once again, by that Friday before, Phil simply has to say, I want to talk about this street or this road or this discussion. Bullet point.
Yeah.
And that opens the door for Phil to say, we gifted this piece of property and now there's a question and now we're in compliance. And then if someone lives on that road or has an interest, they will see it on the agenda. It goes back to what Councilor Bullock says, and it comes back under old business. On new business was my most concerning. And I made I've said to you, and you agreed with me, I'm like, so does that mean that anyone that passes away has to die before the 48-hour notice?
Yes.
to say that we're leaving a page in our notes for someone that passed? And I was being, sarcastically accurate.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's ways that we can tag the new business with those categories that we don't actually know yet. Can we say, and I'll use this only because I brought it up, under new business, it could say, local deaths. You know what I mean? And then if there's nothing to say, but are we then just creating those open categories that they're
Creating
trying
open
not
category.
to talk about?
Yeah. In my opinion, if we had new business, local deaths, or memorial pages, or
Memorial
whatever
pages,
you want to
perfect.
call them.
That's much better than local deaths.
That's an open category. If
And-
you don't have memorial page for
A, B, yeah.
person, first name, last name, whatever, it's an open category.
And once again, I'm playing the devil's advocate on that part because that's something that I don't want to wait a month. I would like it to be spontaneous, and this is such a weird category that it stops us from being doing.
Yeah.
Not to say, on the other hand, if I have something I want to talk about on new business, like I want to talk about this discussion that we're having right now, and I want this on the agenda, that should go under new business.
Yeah.
I should say discussion on open meeting law and agenda, and give it to you by that Friday, so you can put that under new business, because
Yes.
we really can't discuss it on the agenda unless I tell you that we want to do it under new business, because it's not old business, because it was never on the agenda.
Right.
So I think we can do that, because that would be clearly spelling out something we're going to bring up under new business for discussion. That could be done by Friday.
Yes.
The next point that I wanted on this discussion was when we had the mayoral change the morning of, and we got into a big conflict on the floor about how can someone change it the morning of, and it was all about distribution, and that was missed by a lot of counselors. That the rule is, as long as it can be redistributed in the manner we distribute it, it could be changed. Then it was picked up by a couple of counselors. I think Councilor Bullock, I don't want to speak for her, but might have been the one going, but then we don't still have time to, if they change the whole agenda 2 hours, before the meeting, and you resend it, we have no time to react, do our homework, be ready and prepared.
Yep.
So was that an interpretation that we need to set some parameters on? Because I don't know if, changes have to be submitted by Monday. You know what I mean? And not allow it on Tuesday, and then people would have it. I mean, or do we just stay steadfast by Friday?
So
I wanted clarification on that piece,
So-
because I think it opened a door that I liked and didn't like simultaneously.
So we have open meeting law says 48 hours for the posting. So technically, that's Monday at 6:30. That's the 48-hour rule. But we, in the council office, send the packets out most of the time, not 100% of the time, on Friday, so that the counselor might have time over the weekend to open it, look at the packet, read information. It gives the counselors a little bit of time. It gives the public a little bit of time because we post it. But open meeting law says 48 hours. So if we say to whomever, submit your bullet points by Thursday at 5, so that on Friday, we can get it done and get it out, which our world is a world of waiting, because we're always waiting for some last little piece of this or some last little piece of that. Because, so we want it by Friday, but that's how many days before the
Right.
48-hour rule?
So I see Councilor Bullock before I make, Councilor Bullock, did you have some? I have a thought, and I just, but
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that this is one of those areas where I'm just we're kind of reinventing the wheel unnecessarily. What Kathy is explaining, what we do is in line with the open meeting law, and it's courteous to the council. And so, and if someone submits something at Monday at 6:15 or whatever, and they can repost it and do it, right? They obviously do it. And so there's there's a part of me that's the system we have is working the best it can. If we impose arbitrary guidelines on it, in some ways it's just silencing the possibility of an urgent matter needing to be discussed. And of course, it's, yeah, I do deal with that I check my email the morning of, and then I'm at work all day, and then I don't get to check my email until I literally open my computer on council floor at 6:30 or whatever again. But that's just the job. And so we have to just deal with it. Like, I feel like if we put arbitrary parameters on it, it's only going to stifle the possibility of us moving work forward, which is already hard enough to do.
I love that answer, and I'll tell you why. You said one thing that changed the whole rule for me, and that was the urgent piece. You know, there is going to be urgent. If the mayor wants to tell us something that broke Tuesday morning, and it's urgent, then I believe we have time to post it and resend it. I would like that to be the exception versus the rule, but like Councilor Bullock just said, once we start altering it, if I told you as the president, I want that 48-hour rule enforced. So by 6 o'clock on Monday, that's it.
Yeah.
Well, what if Tuesday at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, there's breaking news that Director Schindler thinks we should know, or there's something that anybody, there's plenty of time to tell us at 4 o'clock on Tuesday to resend it and add it to the agenda. So I guess Councilor Bullock helped me to clarify that in my own head. I think we leave it alone and understand that I would like to think those are the exceptions, and that we don't have a department changing every Wednesday morning, for as the way they do it. They don't send it to you till Wednesday. Well, that I don't think is acceptable. I think changes based on that are that, but I agree. If we set a new standard, a process, it stops the urgency. Any department head could want to talk to us for something that broke within, and I'd rather know than say, I don't want to be that council that goes, how come we're finding this out on, WHAI and not finding out in our email? And it's, because we didn't tell you because Dan only wants it 48 hours. You know what I mean? I think Councilor Bullock is dead on this. Any other discussion?
Just that I want to add 2 things to the agenda.
What would that be?
I want to add an update on the cold weather plan. And I want to add that I would like to have an update from the mayor's office on if they've explored what options they can take regarding the tax title taking and the update from the land court statement. I think we went through hours in A&O and hours on the council floor discussing what we couldn't do. So they have the lawyers, it's their office. I would like them to tell us what they are going to do to avoid further litigation regarding tax title taking. I'm hoping they can provide an update for us on that.
So I got the titles of what you want. Do you want to send the full explanation of what you're looking for in an email to the office, please?
Yeah, I can do that for
That'd be
sure.
wonderful.
Thank you, Kathy.
And you would like this you would like the mayor to update on these items?
I think, mayor, or if she wants to designate
Mayor or designee?
for city departments or chief of staff or whoever she wants.
Okay.
Is there any other discussion? Anyone? Did I miss anything?
We have to go over the agenda.
Even more, yes.
Yep.
All right, go ahead.
So currently the council agenda has the following items on them: the mayor's appointments, as previously stated, the 2 resolutions that are going to CRE, the increase in the COLA base that we are going to double check on what the base actually is. Included in this packet are the communications from the school, which they were intending to report on in September. The mayor requested and the president suggested having Chief Robert Haig attend the council meeting under invited guests by the council to update the council on community resource policing program including staffing and results and the status of the Greenfield Police Department dispatch construction and financing. And then the slew of first readings that are currently on the Ways and Means agenda. Do you want me to read them all?
No,
How'd I do?
I think,
think we read
are we,
It's-
are we missing anything? And if you see anything that was omitted by us
Yeah.
there, add it to the agenda. Agenda still needs to be approved, and I always check with you to make sure
Yep.
that we found it. And if Phil can update us on anything that comes out of EDC that is there. Is there anything else? Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Is it
Seconded.
seconded?
Second,
All those in favor?
aye.
6:56 PM.
Meeting is adjourned at 6:56 PM. Thank you, everybody. Have a good
Thank
night.
you.
Good night, everybody.